whakai.
Ah.
Ko mana tēnā, ko mana tēnā minga kōrero whakapaha. So we're now into the declarations of interest. We know we didn't have any, so we're very fortunate. Unless Maddie's got one, but I don't think you have, Maddie. Have you? No. So we'll go straight to the minutes so we can get those confirmed. I love our minutes. They're always so simple. I don't understand why we're not unable to achieve this in other fora because they're just so simple.
Yeah.
So does everybody agree that they're a true and accurate record of our last meeting?
Yeah.
And is prepared to move them. That's Marty. And
Yes,
second,
yeah.
Who was the mover?
Yeah, Graham.
Yeah.
Graham mover.
Oh, okay, sorry, Mata. Yeah, Graham and Marty. Okay, go. Ko pukai ka tō tātou ki tēnā?
No.
Ai, ko mana tēnā kōrero e nānei. So that's our formal record of the meeting.
Yeah, they're good minutes. I like it.
Yeah. I bet your council meetings aren't as sharp as this, John. Have minutes like this.
Yeah,
Okay.
how I wish.
Sheila, that meeting schedule, everyone's already received it, have we?
Yeah, they have. So it's basically what we did in December 2021, determining if the frequency of the meeting is going to be monthly, bi-monthly or quarterly, if we're going to make it here, or if you want to defer it until March. And then contingent on whether you want it to be a monthly, bi-monthly or quarterly meeting, confirming that these will be the dates of those meetings. So for 2021, we were bi-monthly, which allowed the TSG to meet on a monthly basis. I guess it's up to the board to have a conversation and determine if they want monthly or bi-monthly or quarterly meetings. It's a really simple paper.
I think bi-monthly, as we had last year, suited us and worked well.
Yeah, we have to recognise, I think, that COVID's not going to go anywhere fast, so we're going to be stuck in this circumstance or something like it for some time.
Yeah.
So we have to begin to lean probably a little bit more on the Zoom method. We're going to be forced to anyway, I suspect. Well, it's be safest.
Awesome. So that if you do elect to bi-monthly, it would be April, 22nd of April, 17th of June, and the 19th of August would be our meeting dates for this financial year or for this calendar year.
Oh, I haven't checked and make sure that. Yeah, that's good.
Marty?
A couple of questions, Hami. Or one is, before we sort of ease off on the number of meetings, I'd like to see some runs on the board. Actually, confirmation or affirmation that we've got speed limits, we've got signs and things like that. Because being on Zoom, is it as effective as being in the room for being able to nut something out and actually, are we better off to maybe, until we get that momentum, have it monthly? I fully accept it might be just as effective to do it bi-monthly. I'm happy to be led by our advisory group. But just bringing those two things to the table.
Yeah,
get some momentum, kick it along, and then make sure it's got its own momentum before easing off on the governance, the oversight.
Good idea, Marty. Yeah.
I think it's the technicians being able to meet their objectives and milestones really that we need to
absolutely
be timing our entry and exit on in terms of supporting that team.
Yeah.
So is there any particular cycle that team have you guys thought about when would be best for you? Because it'd be good if you could do a bit of work and we come in behind and review it and mandate it,
Yeah. So I think with monthly meetings, there wouldn't be an increase in reporting because we still have to match and line ourselves up with council process for plan changes. So we've got an update today just on what NRC are going to be doing with the proposed plan change. just a verbal because it's finally kicking into gear with planning. It's also bearing in mind that it is an election year as well. So as much as we're going, you know, things aren't going to happen after August, September, and potentially through to January, whilst the new councils are formed.
Downtime.
Yeah, there is going to be some downtime. So what I think fortnightly meetings are, bi-monthly meetings are still appropriate, given that we're going to retain administration of Tote B at NRC, and we're looking to standardise and simplify some of those back office functions so that we get more continuity for admin support on the board. So from my perspective, bi-monthly is better because then that allows administrative support and other support services to go towards the TSG. With the beach management plan, the early action items are with council working alongside our iwi entities. So we're going to start kicking into those next week. That'll be our first meeting to talk about how we identify and develop a pathway for sites of significance and wahi tapu. And then those also have to go through working and planning parties here at NRC. So if we increase meetings with Tote B, it could potentially slow down what we have to do within council.
Okay. Yeah.
That's just a.
So this would be a good sort of medium safe course bi-monthly, eh?
I think so. And George can keep us on task with the TSG.
Okay. Yep. Is anyone got any objection to sticking with the bi-monthly regime?
No, happy with that. Good advice. Thanks, Sheila.
Yep. 231 days to go.
Was that to the election?
Absolutely.
Sorry, so I think you have to just approve.
John Carter moves.
I'll move.
Who's brave enough to second it?
Well, if nobody's speaking up, yeah, let's move it. I'll second.
Yeah.
So just confirming that's going to be bi-monthly, 22nd of April, 17th of June and 19th of August.
Yep.
Thank you.
I should turn myself on mute.
Yeah. Just quickly, the only other decision-making paper that we, it's not a paper, it's going to come from Gary Hooper and Laws Lawson. They want to speak again and hopefully seek approval, provide more information to the board. I can load it up for you, Laws, around amendment and support of the fishing year. So I can share that if you want, Oriel.
Thank you.
I'll pass it to you, Laws.
Okay. Good to see everyone again. Can't quite see why I can't be seen, but never mind.
Here we go.
So at the last meeting when we discussed things, I asked for the board's support in changing the timing of the fishing year for green lip mussel 9 spat because it causes an unfortunate set of circumstances in a number of years, which isn't the best for the beach, the collectors or anybody. So we put together a small paper that Sheila's done most of the work for and framed the recommendations on our behalf. But a bit of history, collection of spat went on from the early 70s, and then it became, you had to have a fishing permit for it. And then given the level of interest, it was brought into the quota management system in 2004, late 2004, starting 1 October. When they brought it in with a 1 October thing because nobody had paid too much attention. And at that point, we were getting more catches through early and mid-winter. For a collector to be able to collect spat, they've got to hold annual catch entitlement, which is generated from quota. They've got to either have that on hand and count any catch against it, or they pay ding values, which is kind of set at a higher level above the cost of ACE, in order to encourage fishers to make certain that they are operating inside the system correctly. If they're not, they pay the ding values and they pay 90% at the end of the month, or they can't go fishing. And there's a certain amount for the year, but it's only for the year. And you can only carry over 10% of anything you've got left, basically. That's fine if there's no problem in terms of catching things during the year, but often there is. And you end up with kind of the race for any last kilogram of spat on the beach near the 3rd of September. Can you just scroll down a little bit, Sheila, to show that helpful diagram you've put together? So the top part of the picture shows sort of what we've got currently. We've closed the beach to basically for using loaders on the beach from the 15th of December to the end of March. There's usually not a lot of spat fall in the early part from April to June, but then we get into the right kind of weather conditions that blow the spat north and then blow them back onto the beach from July through. Increasingly, there's a lot of it starts, there's not enough that's coming in that period. Last year is another example of it. And you end up in October, perhaps the start of November, in terms of trying to still catch nature's bounty that you need to put on farms. So that, as I said, drives unfortunate behaviour near the end of September, when people that have paid quite a lot of money to be able to catch the spat and haven't had enough that they want to catch every last kilogram of it. So we're proposing that we work more with nature, change the fishing year to be the 1st of April to the 31st of March, and we won't get that, and it can be done more orderly, and we can continue the collaboration amongst loaders of working together and increasingly trying to minimise the number of loaders on the beach. We found, unfortunately, that one of the glitches in the Fisheries Act is that while you can change what the area of a quota management area is and easily the catch and a number of other things, you've actually got to get a change in the legislation to do a change in the fishing year. The working group that includes representatives of every iwi, the collectors, industry, the ministry, and Tohe Kaimwana supporting iwi, collectively agreed in 2019, after looking at things, that we should change the problem, and asked MPI to start the machinery. It hasn't moved fast enough, and we still haven't got action. So we're asking for the board, with its responsibilities, to also sound that message as loud as we can to the minister, to get it on Parliament's priorities. It's only a technical thing. It's not going to cause any major harm to anybody that I think anyone could object, but we need to try and advance it. At the moment, it's set down for one of those omnibus pieces of legislation that always get bumped off if there are other priorities. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure Gary can give a broader output of anything that's needed.
Yeah, Lawrence Graham here. Why has it taken so long to get this this sorted? Because, you know, we agreed with the changes to the fishing year back in 2019, I think, and you know,
Graham, I'll try and be polite and say that the ministry and minister have had other priorities, but I feel the frustration the same as you. I was one of the ones that was proposing it. John.
So can I make a suggestion that to put the thing, am I on? Yeah, to make sure it gets through, that we just promote a local bill A lot of people don't understand how the parliamentary process works, but a regional or a district council, if they have an issue like this, can actually put a local bill through, which is on Private Members' Day or Members' Day, which is once a fortnight. They can introduce it, and if it's a local bill, it gets priority. And so then we could draft it up, do the things we want to, put it into the Parliament, and then it would go through reasonably speedily.
Okay.
Great.
And our officials, if they're don't know about it, and they may not, because it's not a thing that's commonly known, but they can give me a ring and I can talk to them about it, and they can talk to the clerk of the house. Quite honestly, that would be my recommendation.
I think that's a good suggestion, but I think we should also poke the minister as well, John, if we can.
Of course, but
Well, yeah, when it comes to a legislative amendment,
it takes it away from the minister.
Sorry.
It has to go through the system.
Yep.
yeah. So there is a process for legislative amendments, and there's ways and means in which you can speed up or slow down. That's all good, but unfortunately, there's a little wee inequity in the QMS system as it is applied to SPAT, and that inequity is most visible amongst the localized iwi where the SPAT comes up. So essentially, what happens to Te Arawa, for example, is that even though a lot of the SPAT arrives in Arohe, we get a very little amount of it, and even less influence over the management of it, which is not commensurate with what we consider to be our interest in the taonga. So we're not taking that argument anywhere, but what we have talked about is that if and it requires a legislative change to be able to shift the focus into a more equitable position, and we have been discussing it tonight with the need for legislative change to achieve that. So it's going to be hard to go for legislative change on one thing without the other if it's about the same legislation. And so I'm just predicting that it could be we need to be together on it. You did right, but we got to make sure that we are all together on it.
Just a question, just to reinforce that one then, Harmy, has anybody been speaking up against the proposal to change it? Or is everybody in agreement that assuming what Harmy's issue and the iwi's issues might be, if they're resolved, is this change of calendar meeting unanimous approval?
So the change of fishing year will get unanimous approval.
Yeah.
Harmy's concern is a much more fundamental thing, and if we put it together, it won't be advanced. I'm working behind the scenes with Gary in terms of things to try and provide another positive option for the Te Hiku tribes.
Yeah.
Which because none of us disagree that where the beneficiaries lie.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, the right thing to do is the best thing to do for the environmental focus of the resource. Could we describe this as an improvement in environmental practice?
It will lead to it'll lead to a continuation of the best behaviour we see on the beach, Harmy, rather than encouraging the worst.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you there, Harmy?
Yeah, Matty.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
The information I'm coming through is very distorted. And are the mussel spat gatherers, are they aware of all this?
Yes, they are, and they're one of the people that are behind it. They're, at the moment, they're some of the ones that suffer the damage of working correctly with the system and paying for spat, only to then find that they can't catch it because it hasn't arrived from nature, and they lose that money. So they much prefer a system that if they are paying for it, then it works with nature rather than an artificial kind of time limit in the middle of it. So they were part of the working group that proposed it.
What you're saying is that what we are proposing won't have any effect on the mussel spat gatherers.
No, it'll have a positive effect on the mussel spat gatherers.
It'll be a positive one, will it?
Yep.
Okay, good.
They won't have to go out in the middle of the night anymore.
Oh, no, it's not quite as good as that. You can't change nature.
But there won't be such a hectic rush to get every last kilogram of
We need to,
and
we
then
need to
get the
lose
reporting
that
done.
frenzy.
Exactly, George.
We need to lose that frenzied approach. It puts people right off.
Yeah, agreed.
So what do we need to do in relation to this? We say recommendation to,
We'd like you to send that letter, and we should then explore with John the kind of local members bill.
Right.
One of the things, though, John, that we need to be aware of is that quota owners, as Harmy outlined, are across the country.
Sure.
And so it might go beyond. We just have to explore, and
Sure.
you've got the expertise in terms of how far we can stretch that without people then dismissing a bill.
The bill will only be for the four area up here, I think. That makes them all go quiet, eh?
they've all got quota.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So, yeah.
The-
If it has to go out to the other iwi, then you should present Graham and I as the face of that.
Yeah, we should control that.
Yeah. All right.
And the bill that John is referring to, I think, John, we need to help draft that up.
Oh, absolutely. Well, in fact, you do absolutely we do.
Okay.
It's important the
why
board
we-
works with
why
the
we-
regional or the district council to draft the bill.
Why can't Kelvin Davis champion it?
Because
He lives in
he could put a private bill in, but the beauty of a local authority doing it is that it gets priority over a member's bill.
So the action items for or the recommendations for Laws's requests is that the board endorses a change to the fishing year for GLM 9, and that the board approve a letter of support for the change to the fishing year for the quota management area Greenlit Mussel 9 or GLM 9 from 1 October to 30 September to the 1st of April to the 31st of March, and that a letter that it be sent to the Minister of Fisheries and the Parliamentary Undersecretary for Oceans and Fisheries, and C, the letter be subject to the final approval of the chair of Te Oneroa-ā-Tohe Beach Board.
That's great. But I'm just checking one last remeasure. Sorry, Lois. So this has been through the Fisheries Forum, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Can we just add another clause in there that the board and the staff explore the possibility of a local bill?
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
And Gary and I would be happy to work with people and things, because we're going to be working up the helping work the drafting with the minister.
Absolutely.
Picks up the
I'm happy to move that, Mr. Chair, and then I'm going to have to slip away.
All right.
Yeah. I'll support that.
Move Mayor Don Carter, second Mayor Graham Neho. Ko whakaaka tō tātou?
Aye.
Ngā mea kaore whakae. Great.
Awesome.
Thank you, Sheila.
This is another decision that's going to put us out there, but it's good.
Cool. I've stopped sharing. Ords, if you want to take the agenda back, if you want to.
So thank you for the opportunity. We'll leave you to your important business. Thank you.
Kia ora.
Kia ora tātou, Gary here. Hey, firstly, just wanted to thank you for your support for this initiative. but as importantly, thanks for the opportunity to be part of these meetings, whether they're monthly, bi-monthly. We're as interested as you are to get runs on the board in regard to this activity, and this is yet another small step forward. So we really appreciate your support, and hopefully we've got some encouraging feedback from officials or the minister by the time of the next meeting. And but fantastic that there's a will to explore other options, other avenues to progress this. So really appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, is it okay if I leave now? I need to get out to the airport.
You're excused, John.
I'm just worried with the quorums. All okay?
We're all good. It's only the processes that you're in charge of. We place of significance. No, we're okay. You go.
All good. All right. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Everybody, have a good day.
Thank you.
Ami, just checking, can you see the agenda in front of you?
I can see point 1.2.
Great, okay. Oh, thank you. That's all I need to know.
Oh, yeah. And that's what we're up to, eh?
Yes, we are.
Ah, yeah,
okay. So with the technical steering group, obviously being the start of the year, we're kicking off in earnest next week. Just with the change with Omicron and different councils working in and out of the office, we've just had some pressures on the team. Just a quick update though from Sean Baker in terms of the speed limit updates. They've got a speed limits workshop happening today, and they're expecting the recommendations report to go to council in March for approval. So they're still online to hit that June, is it a June deadline? I think it was. In terms of, oh, sorry, can we just go back to the 1.1? Just interrupt if you want to know more about something. In terms of scattering of ashes, so the bullet point provide information to the public explaining that the scattering of human ashes in the sea and on the beach and on the sand dunes and in waterways is inappropriate. So we're a letter has been distributed to the local funeral providers, and information will be loaded on the board's website, which is attachment 1. My bad, there's like 54 pages of the same letter. That was my mistake in the agenda. So that's where we're at with the scattering of ashes. We obviously still have the Māori model pre-work that was done by Dina Tapara, and we'll take that to the Māori elected members or appointed members at next week's meeting to see if they want to progress that at all, and how we potentially progress that.
Hey, Sheila, can we send that notice out further rather than just the local funeral directors?
Yep. Do you want me to? Okay. Do you want me to give you a call after this and you can?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
So some of that
There must be a nationwide forum.
Funeral. Yeah. Sure.
I was thinking when I was reading this minutes that maybe we should have thought about creating a place where they could put their ashes.
Yes. So
we were thinking on the other side of the fence rather than sort of thing. And I wonder whether there was such a place.
With a stop go sign onto the beach.
Nā kaore me whakaro te tai wā I tika.
Ai.
Engari mea ka mātua te ki nā hangana e urupa o tātou. Kaue ka tai.
We could make it a wishing well. E mea tautoko ki te mahi. I don't know. Just thinking on my feet there. Sorry, I shouldn't have diverted.
Yeah, so that'll be something that is covered off in that scattering of ashes, the different concepts and ideas that are out in the communities as to how you deal with the increase in human remains or cremains or.
Well, that also goes further to to those that get buried out at sea as well, you know, through the Navy and all that. Because Ngāti Kuri several years back opposed that. I don't know whether any of our other iwi had come across that. So, yeah, I think it's something that we need to make a stand on.
It's just been reaffirmed in legislation, I think, a couple of years ago. That you can drop your relation off, but I think you have to be miles offshore.
You reckon
Yeah,
they won't swim back, eh?
Yeah. I think there's 3 locations that you can be buried at sea in New Zealand and New Zealand waters, but I can provide that information to you guys as well. Give an update on where that is. And one of them being in the far north.
Oh.
So,
we better find that out pretty quick.
1.2. Oh, sorry. Anything else on scattering of ashes?
I think the region's outside Cape Brett, Rakamangamala.
Just one question, or perhaps a suggestion in writing to the funeral parlours and funeral homes regarding not scattering on the beach and near the beach, and just a bit of the story that it's a spiritual pathway. It's not, you don't have to lay the actual bones out there. So people should be encouraged to keep the bones at home, the ashes at home, or but nowhere on the beach. People seem to think that they have to do it physically. So if that can be put across, might be better.
They end up in the sea, Marty. So we need to make it specific to not only the beach, but on the in the sea as well.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is, Graham, someone down in Kirikiri, keep the bones in Kirikiri, and the spirit will. That's where the spirit's going to do that trip. Pākehā might not
sound like Brian Macbeth.
She'd send it off in a package.
Yeah, I think my experience has been that I had a lot of people who approached me to do this, looking for a place to bury their ashes, and they're generally Pākehā people who have some sort of association with Ahipara, came here for holidays and loved the place, and they always wanted their ashes to spread here, you know, and there's dozens of them, and honestly, I can't even give them a place to say. What I'm going to say is, you know, where could you take things that you don't want, you know, because no one wants them on their land, and you know, I feel sorry for them really, because it leaves an unfulfilled thing in a person's life, you know, and it's a pity we can't help them somehow. Every time someone contacts me about that, I don't like that feeling, because can't help them, you know. I think we're going to have to, and I'm sure those are just the ones that ask. There's probably twice as many that don't. So.
Yeah, I guess there'll be 90% of those people, how many would have a whakapapa that links them all to the urupa that they belong to. So why not send them in that direction? Because that's where they should be. Even some of our maraes don't accept the ashes going into their marae. So, you know, it's pretty harsh in that way, but those are the rules.
Well, you don't mind ashes, I suppose, if that's where they're going for their last stop after the marae.
Yeah, well,
but Matty, you're not going to scare the ashes on the beach, are you, Matty?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with Graham in regard to human ashes being scattered on our beach and in the water, etc. No, we shouldn't allow this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. So maybe there's some way we can help the nation out.
Well, God's not making any more land for us to allow something like this to happen.
Oh yeah, so I'm a bit of an advocate of the commissions. Much easier. I told all my children if I die overseas, make sure you cremate me and bring me back in your suitcase because it costs $30,000 on the plane. Okay, where are we up to? Resource consent now?
Yeah.
Is that right, Sheila?
Yes, yes. So resource consent, so that's to formalise the process by which the board is notified and receives all applications. So it's A16 and A22, establish a process for the board to receive and review resource consent applications. We do have one that's on the agenda today. That's just a pre-notification by an applicant that's come to the board wanting to share information. But this process is just currently on hold while we work through whether it's going to be a part of the plan change or whether it's just going to be a process. So we'll come back to the next one on the resource consent process, just to line up what FNDC and NRC are doing, if that's okay.
Right.
Or unless Teresa, did you have anything else you wanted to add on that one?
Tēnā koutou katoa. Ka hori, no thanks, Sheila, that's pretty much covers it.
Cool, thank you.
Sorry, Sheila, just interrupt there for a second. Sorry, Teresa, I didn't realize that you were online. I must stop proceeding. I know time has passed, but this is the first opportunity I've had to acknowledge it, and I can't let it go by. So kia ora. I can't wait to see you in person.
Kia ora, Hami.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, Teresa. Okay, next one, Sheila.
Yep, so 1.3 sites of significance. So a large, a precursor to us undertaking the regional and district plan changes is action item A6, so provide GIS mapping expertise and templates to support iwi, hapu and whānau to identify wahi tapu and sites of significance in the Oneroa-ā-Tohe management area for the purposes of including these in the protection in the district and or regional plans. So with this one, there is a paper going to Council's Planning and Regulatory Working Party in March to kick off a proposal for the process and timeframes for a plan for a discrete plan change for Tote B. The timeframes are indicative at this stage, subject to their approval, but we're looking to have it publicly notified by March 2023, and we're hoping to have this action item done by around the September time frame. This is so the action item A6. There is some financial support available via the TSG for this action item, and it is an action item that will be driven by the iwi members of Te Oneroa-ā-Tohe Beach Board. So that's where we're at, and we're going to kick that off next week.
Well, we've always recognised that the entire beach, Te Oneroa-ā-Tohe, is a wahi tapu. And so there are significant areas also along the dunes that we need to identify in this mapping process. And so, we need to be all part of this, the iwi and the council.
Yep.
Well, the whole board.
Yeah. So what we'll do, we'll kick off a process with the iwi appointed members and the TSG members next week, and then bring updates to the board for endorsement or approval as required. But as far as I see it for now, it's really getting an understanding of how we're going to collect the data, how we're going to map it, how it's going to be stored, who's going to have access to it. So all of those data management issues that we need to work through with the iwi to make sure that they're happy with what's going to happen with that data, and then how it's going to translate into the plans.
the most important item on our agenda is identified with a small budget. So how do we work that out?
Yeah, so we can, I think,
Yeah, go.
sorry. So I think next week, once we understand the breadth of support that is required for the mapping and the expertise that is required, then we'll be able to translate into what that means for dollars and how it's supported going forward. In terms of also, you know, the plan change itself, for its public notification and potentially hearings, that can be anywhere between $10,000 and $40,000 as well. So we're aware of some of those costs within council, and we're starting to budget and plan for those things now.
Oh, that's, yeah, so you're still in the process of scoping it out. That's good. But I think, did you take into account at all that some of the area is actually totally owned by the iwi?
Yeah, I guess that's next. You know, there are the 4 reserves.
Yeah. I suspect some of the areas, such a significance we may find, will be within that strip. Because there's the 4 dunes, or the 4 dune probably, and I'm just wondering whether the ownership of that land makes a difference to how we entrench it, or I don't know, I'm not too sure. Is it a factor at all? And is it a factor in terms of gaining the agreement to whatever it is we're doing?
Yeah, I would say it would need to be, because the jurisdiction of the board, the Oneroa-ā-Tohe board, only goes as far as the high water mark, doesn't it?
Yeah, 20 meters above the mean high water.
Yeah. So beyond that, there are those reserves that we're referring to, A, B, C, and D. That's where the iwi should have a say in how they prefer to deal with it.
Yeah. And it does require the iwi to stand up and be counted for it, but at the same time, it could become an obstacle in future processes.
Yeah, but having said that, also I've travelled down the beach over Christmas time a couple of times, and all along the beach there are people camping up in the dunes there.
Yeah.
So God knows what sort of mess those guys leave behind.
Yeah.
So, we need to quickly deal with that, so we've got more control over that. That's my view, anyway.
So, I don't know where this fits into the. Maybe we have the speed discussion, but there's quite a bit of publicity and community response to the police campaign over Christmas, New Year on the beach, and when I had a closer look at it, I saw it was a very comprehensive campaign, and with patrols up and down the beach, people getting ticketed for unlicensed and warranted vehicles, and every person stopped was drunk drive tested, and it was a very comprehensive sweep. And it was described by the police as a litmus test to see what the profile, I guess, of the local population was in terms of those. There heaps. I don't know. I'd like to know how many offences were laid down that day. But what concerned me was that it was not lined up with our strategy.
Yeah.
I don't even know whether you spoke to any of us, and it wasn't lined up with the iwi strategy. And both of them, I thought, would be great opportunities to weave together a soft glove approach to serious issues in crime.
Yeah.
And but I was very disappointed when I read that.
Yeah, I agree, Hami. We haven't mandated them to do that, and this is easy picking for them.
Yeah.
From what I can see, and so prior to any, I haven't seen any court proceedings regarding that, but if it does happen, I think there needs to be a voice from one of us in there.
Yeah, I'm drafting a letter, but I didn't want to send it of my own accord. I was intending to put it before the board today, but I haven't finished drafting it, so I have to come back to you with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, I think I suspect it was a sort of a one-off thing driven by circumstances, but they didn't even inform us.
Well, it's like this: the Ministry of Fisheries or MPI don't have the resources, well, the people resources up there to deal with all these people that are taking excess kaimona and toiroa and whatever that they shouldn't be. And so they take an opportunity like this just as a cheap shot against some of our people to deal with them by having the police there as well. So I think it's a bit rich for them to believe that they have full authority to do that when the beach is not classified as a highway.
Well, there's all that too, I suppose, but it just wasn't an effective community intervention, I thought. But it was but at the end of the day, the law is the law, and everyone's got to do what they got to do, I guess. But it was an opportunity lost, I thought, and so we'll see what you think later. Right, goes like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, once again, diverting. Had too much coffee this morning. Where are we now? Which is the other thing. This is related to that. People saying to me, "Oh yes, you board members, you got your board up, got your plan in," and the whole. They said at the time we were doing it, the whole thing you guys are just trying to trap us in your rules so that we can get pinged by you. And after this police thing over Christmas New Year, they said, "That's exactly what's happened." And Graham said, "Oh yeah, they're like a fish in the barrel."
Yeah.
But you know what? They didn't have one drive, which is great. Plenty of unlicensed vehicles there.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out a bit there, Harmy. Is everybody else able to hear all right, or is it just me?
I can hear you well.
Yeah,
I'm probably a bit weak in my.
Yeah, you're going in and out, Harmy, but still, we got to
turn my picture off.
just to what you were going.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Yep.
So the only,
sorry, she go.
Oh yeah. So the only other action item was the reprinting. So we've made the changes to the plan, and they're with the printer. And once they're printed, we're going to have them couried up to Matogram for distribution.
Yeah, I can drop them off to all the Runanas and that's no problem. Yeah.
It's a pity we couldn't have had an event to gate crash and plug in. Is there any big environmental events coming up home over the next month or two, I wonder? And do it there at an environmental event, sort of thing. I reckon it'd be good because it would be a sort of a interweaving. If there's anything going that's like that, I don't know if I don't think we're having anything like that.
We can ask around and see if there's any as well.
Well, if they were prepared to have us there, well, I think that'd be nice if we. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking too far ahead.
Oh, sorry, 58. Sorry, Oriel. My mistake. I had uploaded a copy of the letter, but uploaded it like 20 times into the system. So apologies. But if there's nothing else for the TSG, we can move on to Kerry and the Te Araroa Northern Trust update.
Kia ora, everyone. Just my apologies for coming in late, but I think there were 2 Zoom meetings set up, and I had logged on to the other one, and that was where I found Waitai Pithera. He was logged on to the other Zoom meeting as well. So I've sent him a quick email. So yeah. And kia ora, Teresa, and my condolences to you and your family. So to the update, yeah, Mark Wetherall, who you met at a previous meeting, has resigned, and we've got a new executive director, and his name's Matt Claridge. I haven't met him yet, but we will at my next meeting on the 14th of March. I missed the first part of the meeting about the feral dogs, but I've checked our website regularly and our trail alerts, and there's been no comments from any of the Te Aroa walkers about sightings or any information about the dogs. And I did ring Dot. I've got an 0800 number, and I spoke with DJ Neho, and he said that there's been no phone calls of recent, but there are dogs still in the problem around Te Paki Station, and they still present an issue, which you will know more about, Graham, than I.
Yeah, they are there on that trail too. That's
right.
from,
yeah,
that's from Scotts Point over the hill to Twilight, and
Right.
further on towards Te Reringa-Wairua. Yeah, they are there.
they're still there. Yeah, and that's we'll just leave our warnings on our web page and trail alert page, stating that the fact that the same things, Graham, not to walk alone, not to walk at night, and if you see any dogs whatsoever, to ring the 0800 number immediately. So we'll leave that there in the meantime.
And guess what? They'll be ringing forever and get no response.
Oh, really? Oh.
Don't worry, we've tried that.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
but we're on the ground up there, so we know exactly
Yes.
what's going on.
Yeah. So
Your call number must have.
Hey,
Must have seen your call number and said, "Don't answer it."
no, especially DJ, he won't answer.
oh, really?
Bloody useless thing.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Okay. No comment. And also, the walker numbers are really down this year. We're trail angels here in Mangawhai, and we've only had about 5 maximum people come and stay on their trip. So just because of COVID, numbers are really low. So hopefully none of these people who are camping on the beach illegally are any of the TA walkers that's been told to them that they must stay at the designated campsites. So I will ask Mark, my husband, to reiterate and make an update on the Te Aroa trail page to say that people must not camp illegally on the beach.
Yeah.
And that was another thing. Is there any chance that we could put signs on the beach to say, people are there signs saying no camping?
They don't last, Kerry.
Oh, yeah, I know. They'll just get chopped down or taken down.
Or the elements will get them. It's very severe, the elements there, and they just don't seem to last. Especially if they're printed in English.
All right.
So
in the old days, my father used to patrol up and down the beach, and go and wave a stick at them and chase them off.
Yeah, different elements there, Harmy.
Yeah, he had the ticket. Your father had the ticket.
He had the ticket. Yeah.
But it's true. It's very hard to get a thing like that to last on the beach.
Yes. I
not long before it's on a 45-degree.
They'll get shot down.
Right. Okay.
But it's still an opportunity for us to do something really special that people will love so much that they won't want to touch it.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Hedewini Moo always had this idea of building a glass block structure on the beach of different colors, and I think that'd be fantastic.
Big glass colours. Yeah. And I guess while we're talking about signs and people illegally camping, my thought, I think we've touched base on this before, Graham. I'm not sure if we're wanting to go down the road of thinking about having any more toilet facilities on the beach. And if we were, I mean, who do we approach, the council or and yeah. My thought was at Hukateri. I mean, I know there's a road that comes in from Hukateri from State Highway 1 into the beach. And there used to be a little campsite there called Utia Campsite, which has now been dismantled. And there is a campground there, but it's probably about 1 kilometre or at least a good 500 metres off the beach, and it's a private campsite, so local people can't use it. But yeah, so I'm just wondering whether we want to do that.
Well, I think that we have to look at that. And my view is that if we had reasonable numbers of walkers on that, you're sending through, that we'd be able to perhaps drag a what's the name, Portaloo along in certain parts of the beach, and then remove them as soon as those walkers go past. So that way you'll still find the Portaloos in one piece and not get taken or whatever.
It's a good opportunity, I suppose. Eh?
Yeah, it is.
No, it's. I think the idea now, though, Kerry, isn't it? I mean, your organisation, I'm sure, must be thinking of making its plans, objectives a bit further out in time, and start consolidate the infrastructure and underground foundation for the future flow, and orient it to the genre that's going to be most attractive and effective. And that's where the beach board, I think, can be a big help. We can together work out what kind of environment we're going to need to attract that sort of person, and what kind of facility we would have. And I'm not sure whether Portaloo is going to cut it, but but maybe we can get innovative and design some kind of portable thing, what Graham's describing there, some kind of acceptable portable thing that can be popped up, for want of a better word, and popped down easily without having to discharge to the environment too much. There's lots of opportunity there, I reckon.
I agree. With Graham. I mean, I've been approached by our committee to look into the matter and to approach the Far North District Council, but I thought the best thing was to go through your committee first, and to see what your thoughts were on it. But I guess in the meantime, I'm going along with what Graham saying, and having a Portaloo at a place that's easy accessible for removal, installation, and for servicing it as well in the meantime.
Well, they've got them on trailers, so you could tow them to a certain area.
Yes.
Now, but the big thing here is that at your end, you identify the numbers of walkers that are coming through at a certain time. Now, if we can get those numbers, then it's worthwhile doing this. But if you only got 1 or 2 people, it becomes a costly exercise.
We've got time to plan. We've got time to plan.
Okay. All right.
Well, let's talk more on that later, Kerry.
Okay. Thank you, Graham. Thanks, Harvey.
Yeah. Hey, Kerry, it's great having you along to these meetings. It's very informative. Yep, and it's good to make the connection with the past, the present, and the future. So,
yes. Thank you. Kia ora. Thank you very much. And I mean, it's really hard about the numbers. I will talk to Matt and see if we can work out a system about the registration and when people are starting to walk. So then we have a better idea about how many people are walking each month along the beach. So then I can report back to you on that. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Great.
Right. Kia ora. Thank you. That's it for me. Thank you.
Kia ora. Kia ora. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the recommendation that we accept as a report, is it? Yes.
We don't have quorum.
Oh, okay, all right. So what is it about the Sandhills Road development?
Yeah, so this for this being our final paper, the applicant made contact with the board a couple of days ago, advising that they're going to be looking for an amendment to their consent. So basically what they're wanting to do is move their roads. It is just pre-information and reading for board members. Once they lodge their applications with the councils, then they'll come and formally speak with the board. But it's an adjacent property. It's not within the beach management area. They think there's minimal impact, but they just wanted to be open and early in conversations with the board about what they're doing. And that is visible in the map that they attached for your review, which is the final page.
Does it abut the reserve? No?
It would do, I think, Hami. It would.
It's adjacent, yeah.
Yeah, it would be a reserve D.
Oh.
So I guess it's information for the board. Have a read, give it to your resource management unit teams, I guess, if that's something that you want to do.
Where exactly along the beach is it? Is there a name of the place?
Hold on, let me have a look back over here. So they've acquired the property formerly owned by Ahipara Land Company Limited. The applicant is seeking approval from FNDC and NRC to realign some of their internal access and to adjust some of the building platform locations. These adjustments do not change the number of approved lots and do not provide for any access directly onto 90 Mile Beach. So it's near Ahipara, I believe is what they said. So it's Sandhills Road. Do you know where that is?
Yeah. Is it across from the big water supply that's on that road now?
It's somewhere in that region, Graham, somewhere near between Tupeho and Waimimiha.
Yeah.
Oh, so that'll be part of the Waimimiha
Hi, George.
hydrology.
Yeah. And my
I wonder why they want to straighten the road. Sorry.
Yeah, in my view, this is a Te Raroa kaupapa that they should be handling, and it's outside the jurisdiction of the beach board.
Yeah.
It's only right that we allow the Te Raroa, George, you guys to deal with it. I'm not saying that we don't want to be involved, but we can support. We can support your close outcome.
Yeah, I think that's your Kaiteri committee there, George. Takiwa.
No. O koutou nā kaitiaki o tēnā wāhi,
I'm still carrying 303s. Bit of a risk.
Yeah.
I suspect
the original consent was granted back in 2024, was it? Or when was it? Oh, heck, I'm trying to... No. Yeah. Was it 2004?
2005, I think.
Oh, was it? Yeah, well, there'll be a whole lot of archaeological reports that'll need to be sorted. And Yeah. Te Raroa will be,
Yeah.
yeah, Te Raroa would be the appropriate ones to deal with that.
Sorry, so the subdivision of the land was granted by NRC on the 5th of November 2015, and the district council approval was granted for a 10-year period from the 26th of September 2017.
Mm. There was obvious. Can't hear you, Hum.
I wonder if the applicant has been to talk to any Maoris.
Yeah. Looking at that yellow line, there was an obvious reason, in my view, for the road to be.
I wonder if anybody has been consulted.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think they were, Harmy. The Takiwa provided a cultural impact assessment to the original application for the land, the subdivision and land use consent. Yeah, it's in the decision. So there was a CIA provided.
Okay, there was no use doing that again.
That's right, in the area of reserve.
I mean, it's all. Whatever happens, they have to bump into the reserve anyway. If they want, because I think the biggest concern would be another access way to the beach, opening up another break in the sandbank sort of thing. So that would be the biggest concern, I'm sure. But as long as that's not possible, I don't see how we can really. It's right. It's not in our area of jurisdiction. It's something we have associated with by location, I suppose you can say. But
so there is
I suppose the applicant's looking for our support, are they?
A20 in the plan, that action 20 is to change the regional and district plans so that activities that require resource consent in the Te Oneroa-ā-Tohe management area or adjacent to the Te Oneroa-ā-Tohe management area that may have an impact on Te Oneroa-ā-Tohe must include in their assessment of environmental effects an analysis of the effects on Te Oneroa-ā-Tohe. So while those the regional and district plans haven't been updated to require that, it may be prudent to ask them to do that. Potentially, the board could consider that, albeit that it is a in the Te Raroa-ā-Tohe. I think that, in my mind, that action does require some look at it by the board as well.
Right.
I'm happy to be corrected on that.
That's good. That's good advice.
That looks like it's just down from Waimimiha, not far.
Yes.
Yeah.
The dark green area is the lake.
That's what I thought.
One,
You're right into the hydrology. Yeah.
Just beyond the golf club.
Yeah.
And you can see down the bottom there on the right hand side, that picture, that's pretty close to a beach access.
Looks like it to me too.
The bottom, there, the bottom left, that's going to be a beach access application, no doubt about it. If it's not, it'll be a defect.
Vehicles do use it now as an access, actually.
Yeah.
You can get across there now. So it's just a matter of time before it becomes a normal protocol.
Can I suggest that maybe the TSG look at it and come back with a
recommendation?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. It's going to be a bit complex than we've got time for right now. And there is sort of the Te Raroa thing in it as well, but really it's the greater hydraulical and environmental issues in relation to the beach that are also very important.
Kia ora.
So me waihotia with the Wonga technicians.
Aye.
Everybody in favour of that?
Aye.
Right. You okay with that, Maddie? Earth calling Maddie. No. Oh well, let's proceed. That was our last item.
I just, Hami, I agree with what George just said. By just looking at the map, the developers will be wanting to make a beach access down onto the beach, definitely.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They'll be going through the reserve to get to the beach.
Good.
I don't think that I'd allow that.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
They had to cut a hole in the fence.
I just have a roundabout down there so they park down there and walk down.
But there's always a way for win-wins.
I'm sure they're honourable.
Let's hope so.
That's what I was going to ask you, Kerry. Did you guys have any campsites down on Parliament grounds?
We're going to camp down there. Yep.
I have one question of Kerry. Are there any restrictions that people shouldn't be, that they have no reason to camp on the beach? Any restrictions for any of the camping along the Te Araroa?
On 19 Mile Beach, there's definitely it's stated there's no freedom camping on the beach. They're supposedly meant to camp in the designated campsites.
That's what I'm asking. Are there any restrictions that shouldn't allow them into the camping sites? For instance, why shouldn't people be allowed to camp in a dock place, if you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there's no restrictions. Yeah.
Oh,
thanks.
Yeah.
So hopefully soon it won't matter.
Absolutely.
That's good. Very good. Very good. Well, is there anything else that anyone would like to bring up to discuss before we end our meeting? Oriel, are you okay with where we've gone?
Kia ora, Hami. I'm just going to stop the share. Look, if it's all right, there is one thing I just want to raise while I've got the opportunity for the board and members. Just in terms of our mihi, wanting to kōrero about the elections this year. And really to say our councils are working hard to look at a comms campaign across the councils, because of course this will be the first year we have Māori seats for local government elections. And I just wanted to flag it here because of course, you're all leaders in your hapu and iwi, and the potential now to be looking at some of our leaders to stand in those areas. And there's certainly our council will be looking at a campaign around encouraging people to stand the voting process, but also to encouraging our communities to vote and have these conversations around what councils mean for Māori. Why would we want to participate as Māori in the council elections, and certainly with then getting them to vote and exercise their right to citizenship. So I really wanted to flag that, Hami, with the board. We are really committed to ensuring not only the general campaign and information that goes out across Taitokero is cognizant of our partners, but also to any nuanced approaches that we're looking at in terms of engaging our young leaders as well too. So I just wanted to take that opportunity, Hami, and just get any feedback here from all of you in terms of that kōrero, and any other feedback or thoughts in terms of how the iwi are mobilising that we can think of when we are talking to our councillors, or our councillors are talking to each other, kia ora Māori, and also too with our strategic teams looking at this whole change. Also cognizant that we will have 1-2 2 mayors changing, and also 1, 2, 3 CEOs changing before the next elections. So it is a time to think about the opportunities for Māori. So that's pretty much it. If we could have a kōrero to see and hear the Oneroa-ā-Tohe board feedback on that, and our ability to keep talking about that with the board. Kia ora.
That sounds awesome, Oriel. And of course, when it comes to candidacies and the rights of the people for those jobs, I think that as one of the architects of the Tupu program, I can see that we have to invest in them at an early stage, and because it's all consolidation of knowledge and skills through a lifetime of preparation for a role to get a good person in that role, and we need dozens of them, as you rightly say. So I think if we're going to invest in that as a board, which I think we should, then we have to work out what we can do in the foundational part to encourage intellectual pursuits, cultural pursuits, maybe in relation to the environment that we're working in, research, scholarships, maybe. Maybe we should consider an annual scholarship from the board to encourage study in this area. So we can, and in that way, we'll get to see who the good candidates are as they begin to go through their paces. But my experience, if you try and, like, what happened to Jonah Lumu when they threw him on a rugby field when he was 18, and all he could do was drop the ball because he was just not ready for it. And I think that's where we have to make sure that our young people are ready for it, and don't set them up in a situation where they're going to get worn out, frustrated, and be more effective. So I'm totally up with that, and I think we should explore ways of doing it. So I'm interested to see what other board members think.
One of the other nuances, of course, is only 18 years to the bicentenary, but it's also predicted that by 2050, Te Tokara will be 50% Māori. So that's heading towards a really physical governance and partnership, and by weight of numbers.
Yeah, that'll be a useful variable.
Yeah.
And we have to respond to the change of political circumstances with the Māori membership, because if we don't provide the lock for the key to fit into, the door's not going to open, and everyone say, "See, we told you the door wouldn't." But it might not have been the key; it might have been the lock, And so we have to make sure that where we are, we can make sure the key goes into the lock. Over the things that we have control over, and also act as advocates within our constituent groups in the iwi and the regional local bodies. So, and advocate a culture of growing young people as young leaders, not just Māori either. We're far too small to think fragmented. We have to consolidate our objectives and contribute our momentum to solid advance, I think. And in the beach is one area we can do it in, because nobody's interest can be denied. I'm just raving now, I'm sure. Anybody else got anything to say about it? Or my internet's failed.
No, but it's good to be good, and thanks very much for bringing that up, Oriel. I think it's terrific that the iwi get it out there and start really. And as you said, Han, we've got to bring them on, but we've got to make them aware, but also aware of their potential. One is to act, and the other is to back it up and get involved, rather than just leaving it be what it's be and what it has always been. is to say, look, they are able to change it by getting on board and getting within it and bang the drum.
As with anything though, when it's all new territory.
Yeah.
So at first it'd be like fish out of water. They won't know all the traps and pitfalls and it's up to people like us, you, to help them through it. So we're gonna have something in mind, something in place to be able to support those people. You know, like for example, we haven't got anyone. We can't name any commissioner that we could utilize as environmental commissioner that we can utilize as a resource for us, because we've never actually invested in that fraternity per se, you know, and so you know, maybe it's this question we can ask ourselves, arming ourselves with things like that. I don't know. Maybe it might not even be appropriate, but at least we go through an analysis, and the opportunity with the change of the Maori participation and the potential change of leadership, because it'd be iwi changes to leadership as well. In that milieu, we find some balance, and that's I think we're well placed for that.
You'd be prepared to stand aside and let them in.
That's always a bit
let them
funny.
take the leadership role.
Young people, as far as we can see into the future.
Yeah, we've mucked it up a fair bit ourselves, and that's why we're in a bit of this morass environmentally.
Yeah.
So if we've made the mess, it's very difficult to clean up one's own mess with if we got that same frame of thinking.
Yeah, they're changing. Well, they're changing mine fast, that's for sure.
Yeah, true.
Oh, well, any further discussion on that? You know, I think Oriole would be a good thing for us to consider as a factor in our future decision making. You know, it's like having fiscal implications, and what are the implications for connectivity and complementarity with the Maori participation? You know, and look for opportunities to make it happen.
Kia ora, Hami. Yeah, and I think there is opportunities in the beach management plan around cultural leadership and sharing that leadership and story through the plan as well too. But thank you for that. That's useful to think about how we can make those connections. And certainly I'll take the opportunities, Hami, when we are meeting with the board.
Yeah. And you also a good opportunity to weave the board's aspirations with the councils.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Where they are common. Kia ora. He kōrero anō.
Ka hore. Here tunu.
No, wana ko au oti peto tātou hui. We haven't got any financials this time.
No financials this time. There was meant to be a transition of these board meetings to FNDC, but last minute NRC have kept it on. So we'll have 4 months worth of financial reporting for the board, although there has been no expenditure like there was while we were developing the plan.
Oh man, I just love standing committees. Okay. Ko mutu tātou pē. Unless there's something somebody wants to raise, we can end our meeting here.
Hami, the tahi take kuro mōhio I ki te raini koe. I'm not sure if you saw the images that were put on the whare tūtai at Kaitaia at the park there. It was on one wall was Te Rerenga Wairua. So yeah.
Wahi pai mo tērā, ne?
I tō rātou. So we've managed to remove that. So there's a different image on there now.
Oh, yeah.
So highly appropriate what they did, but then they've accepted the wrongdoing. So okay, can't read out any.
Oh well, I was driving down the beach the other day, and it was all I could do to resist getting out of my truck to get some toilets. I was so proud of myself that I drove right past them. And I went. So I went.
Did your gout put you off, Harmy?
I want to go some little tiny little tours instead.
Hard to find tutus on
I
the
think
beach.
they're supposed to be fine. Oh no, in the water. Oh, on the beach, even heaps of them, eh? It's just the little baby ones.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Okay.
ka hiru mā motu e whakatapu te ahuatanga o tātou nei mahi me te haumaru tanga o ngā tangata.
Ai, kia ora, Harmy, Oneroa, kia ora tātou. Ko tēnei te tātou hui. Kia tau mai te rangi Māori ki tātou. E te matua ka ora o tēnei o ki mātou i tuku a kenei. Te mātou reo haka moimichi, whakawhetai, whakaproria mo na marakitanga i whewhinei mātou mai te tīmatanga o tēnei huihuinga mo te puari o te Oneroa-ā-Tohe. Tai no hoki ki tōna otinga. Kai tunu nei mātou nāu na taimahanga i pīkau tai no hoki i te wā mutu i tō mātou hui. O reira, e te matua inui tuna tuna hoki kia koe. A te wā maranga atu i mātou ki te hoki ki wā mātou whānau, ki wā mātou mahi. E ke mana ki tia mātou a te roanga ki o tēnei rā. O mātou mahi, hei a tīmata, hei a kōtia tuna i roto i tau nei krūriatanga. Mā ona te mānga i āwhina, hei kai tautoko mai aene a ke nei ai.
Ai.
Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora koutou.
Ngā mihi, ka kite.
Ka kite.
Ka kite.
Bye. Kia ora, everyone.